All right, it's time to talk about the Duke Blue Devils coming to town this Saturday, 12 noon kickoff, ACC Network, the 4-3 um, Duke Blue Devils come to town to face off against the 3-4 Clemson Tigers. Duke's latest loss coming at the hands of Georgia Tech. I watched that game. For parts of that game, they were acting like Clemson the last time Clemson played Duke, just fumbling the ball everywhere and just making stupid mistakes. And then Clemson obviously dropping another home game against SMU in their last. Both teams, Jordan, coming in off a bye week. So both teams have had extra time to prepare. Both teams have had extra time to get healthy. And both teams should be ready and rested for this clash of future playoff teams right here. I'm just kidding. But Jordan, your thoughts on this matchup heading into the game? Clemson is, I think, a 3.5-point favorite heading into this game. So your thoughts on the Duke Blue Devils and what they're going to bring to the Valley this Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be another interesting matchup for Clemson. This is a Duke football team that I think has had they've had a strange season, to say the least. I think they probably should be a little bit better than 4-3, just given I think how the quality of football they've played. I think they kind of took some time to kind of get comfortable, particularly offensively. I think they took some losses that I think they'd like to have back. Early losses to Illinois and Duke, where they just, I think they kind of struggled to get things going offensively. And I think, just kind of settling in with new quarterback Darian Mensah, who was from Tulane. I think they've really started to find their groove. And this is a Duke team that has a lot of ways to beat you. Offensively, they are one of the best passing teams in the country, averaging just under 320 yards per game. Darian Mensah has been one of the best I thought he'd be one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC, and he's largely been that this season. He's a guy that can really make things happen. He drives a lot of what this offense is. It's going to be a challenge for this Clemson defense. I don't think Duke has the same level of team speed that SMU had. I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But they are a very, very productive offense, and I think they're going to be able to. I think they're going to be able to move the ball. So I really think it's going to be about limiting those explosive plays. It's going to be tough, and for a team that passes the ball as well as they do, and the struggles that I think this Clemson defense has had on the back end as of late, that's something that I'm really, really concerned about. But I do think, like I said, I do think that this will be a little bit of a better matchup than it was against SMU, just from a sheer team speed level. I don't think Duke has quite the same number of guys that can just flat out burn you as SMU did. So I think that's a positive. Looking at the other side of the football, I think defensively Duke under Manny Diaz, they play a lot of what Manny Diaz has been as a defensive coordinator and just as a defensive guy in general. They are very, very aggressive. They're going to blitz a lot. They're going to send a lot of different pressures. And they're going to try to get this Clemson offense kind of off their rocker, and especially with the struggles they've had up front as of late. It's going to be, really, really important that this team pass protects well. They have one of the better pass rushers in the ACC in Vincent Anthony Jr. Of course, some of you guys might remember Duke does have one-time Clemson commit Bryce Davis on that defensive line as well. He's not starting, but he's played probably about 15 to 20 snaps per game. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun reminder to see him out there, a guy you missed out on. But I think this Duke defense, they haven't been the best unit that they've had in recent years. But They have plenty of guys that are going to be able to make this this Clemson offense work, and they're going to have some issues. I think they have one of the better safeties in the ACC, and Andrew Pellicciota. I think that's how you pronounce it. I haven't heard it on the broadcast, so I'll have to. It's some kind of it's Italian, so those that are Italian, my Italian listeners, please don't murder me for the pronunciation, but we're going to try it. But yeah, I think he's been one of the better safeties in the ACC. And it's going to be tough to kind of hit big plays over the top on this Duke defense. So I think you're going to have to be balanced, because if you give them an opportunity to tee off on you, it's going to be tough. Just with what this team has had struggles with, and all the new faces that they're going to be playing in more significant roles up front. It's going to be difficult, and not to mention, if this if they're serious about increasing the running back rotation, that means you're going to have more situations where you have Gideon Davidson or David Eziamume in pass protection. That's going to be something to keep an eye on, and obviously whoever starts at quarterback is going to be big in this matchup as well. So I think this Duke team is fairly balanced. I don't think they're elite anywhere. I mean, you could probably argue that Darian Mensah is an elite college quarterback. But I don't think they're like elite anywhere, but I think they're a very, very well-rounded football team. And I think they have the guys to stress Clemson in multiple ways on both sides of the ball. And that's what worries me about this matchup. It's another quality football team, and your track record so far against teams with a pulse has not been very good at all. So that's going to be another thing to watch in this matchup. And I have my doubts. I have my doubts. I woke up today kind of feeling positive. But I do still have that itch in the back of my head that says this you might be catching another home loss, which would really suck. I mean, that would be your second straight loss to Duke. You'd officially be on a 2-game losing streak. Those of you remember that 2023 opener. I don't think it'll quite look like that, but this is a team that can absolutely come into your house and beat you. But again, that's not saying much this season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You kind of laid it out there, and Duke and Manny Diaz and the aggressive nature that he plays with his defense, coming after the quarterback and playing downhill, and the things that they like to do, I think could spell trouble, especially this week for the Tigers, especially if you got a guy like Cade starting on, what will be an ankle that will be better if he plays, but it's not going to be 100%. There's zero chance it's going to be 100% because it's a high ankle sprain, and those things take time. So with how our offensive line is played to this point, and maybe having a quarterback back there that is not able to be mobile, that could be a recipe for disaster for this offense. And you mentioned Clemson's going to have to be balanced. I don't trust this team. I don't know that Clemson can be balanced. I don't know that they can be effective on the ground enough in order for Duke to respect what they're going to do on the ground and not be able to just play coverage. And that's something that worries me. And then their offense, obviously, they're going to run a lot of RPO. Obviously, they've done really well in the passing game so far this season, ranked really highly with, their offense is producing over, 460, 70 yards of total offense a game. They're really, a solid team, right? They're not a great team, but they're definitely a solid team. They're a team that can hurt you in a lot of different ways. They got over 1,000 yards rushing on the season, over 2,200 yards passing on the season. So Clemson's going to have their work cut out for them. And they need to pressure. They need to be able to hold up on the back end. And if they don't, it could turn into a really long day for the Tigers. They're going to have to be disciplined with the run fits and stuff like that, especially with the RPO game. Because you overcommit and suddenly somebody gets behind you, right?
Yep.
And they throw it to the open spot, and it's a big play, right? So something that Clemson's defense is going to have to be very disciplined on this week. And I don't know. Are they up for that task, Jordan? Can they get it done? We shall see. It would be the third straight loss in the Valley if they drop this game?
Yeah.
When's that happened? I mean, we're making a point this season of, just making all sorts of records for the wrong reasons, all sorts of new milestones for all the wrong reasons. So it's definitely a worrisome game. Like I said, regardless of who we're playing, there are no gimme games for the Tigers for the rest of the season, at least in my mind. Maybe outside of Furman, but even then, look how he played against Troy. So who knows?
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. And, some players to watch. I mean, I think, the running game, they are very, very balanced in terms of their running back rotations, must be nice. But Nate Shepard has been the guy for them.
You can rotate running backs? You can
apparently, dude.
I didn't know. I thought once you start one, unless they get hurt, they just got to stay in the game. Who knows?
Who knows?
No, sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, some players to watch for Duke. I mentioned a couple on defense. Offensively, they have some really really interesting skill guys. Running the football, they have like I said, they have a really, really balanced attack. Nate Shepard has been the guy for them. He's their leading rusher, averaging 7 yards per carry. And he has 497 yards on the season and 4 touchdowns. And this one, if those of you that are kind of sickos and just remember random football players, they also have Anderson Castle. I don't know if you guys remember that name, but he was that App State running back last season. That was a very fun game in general. But those of you that remember, one of the things that we talked about was that run defense in that game. And Anderson Castle was a guy that Clemson's defense flat out could not tackle.
Yeah, he was very, very in our defense. Broken tackles all over the place.
Yes. He is a very, very physical runner. I'm very worried about his ability to impact this football game. This is the type of game where a guy like him just gives you a lot of issues. So I am very worried about Duke's run game just because they have different styles of back that can hurt you in a lot of ways. And they have the explosiveness, they have the tough runners, and they do a good job of scheming it up. They're very they're a very balanced football team, and they're very efficient. They got their top 3 guys all over 5 yards per carry, and their top guy is over 7. I mean, and he's a freshman. So, I mean, it really does say a lot about kind of Duke's evaluation. Really, just the past. I mean, even going back to Mike Elko, but of course even Manny Diaz. This is a team that for some reason they can find talent, they can find guys, but for some reason Clemson, with all the 4 and 5 star talent that they have on the roster, they look like they can barely function and field a football team. So. That's the joys of watching a college football season at a program like Clemson, and you're not very good because you have to watch teams that flat out don't recruit at the same level as you find a way to put together a better product. I didn't mean to go on that tangent, but it's a wild day in 2025 where Duke has a better football team than Clemson. But and
they really do at this point. I mean, when you got 3 running backs averaging over 5 yards a carry. 7 games into the season, you're doing something right.
Yep.
Clemson's got their work cut out for them. There's a lot of worrisome things when you're looking at this and breaking it down and really looking at what Duke likes to do and what they like to do and what they do well. And I don't think it's great for Clemson, but again, you are you should win this game. But how you've played so far this season, you probably lose it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, just being completely honest with the way this team has played. And again, it's no net advantage, right? Because you're both coming off of bye weeks. So you've had extra time, so have they. So it's not like you even gained like a little bit of an advantage because they had to play last weekend and you had a bye week and got extra time. And that's the crazy thing is I have to even talk about that when we're talking about playing Duke at this point. But here we are as Clemson football. My, how the mighty have fallen.
Indeed. It really is something. And I don't know. I mean, the schedule dynamics of this game make it a little bit interesting because Duke is coming off of a loss. Clemson, a couple weeks ago, and Clemson is, also coming off of a loss a couple of weeks ago. It makes it, really interesting in terms of, what is the mindset of this team? I mean, watching Duke against Georgia Tech, I honestly felt like for a half, Duke was the better football team. I felt like they had some really missed opportunities.
Yeah, they were playing better. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah,
they were turning the ball over in like the worst inopportune times.
Yeah.
But they played well for like a large portion of that game.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, got away from them towards the end, and Georgia Tech kind of, put their foot down. But there was portions of that game where they looked like they may win, but they just made some crucial mistakes that cost them in a big way. I remember tweeting out while watching that game, I was like, they're looking like Clemson right now.
Yeah,
just fumbling the ball and just like they drive down, get in the red zone, turn it over. I was like, man, they're looking like Clemson the last time we played them.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of weird because like this season in general for Clemson, it's typically been after a team has played Clemson that they have a really disappointing performance and they look. Yeah, I don't know who tweeted it out. Might have been Woody Whitehurst over on Twitter. Shout out to Woody. I think he said whatever Clemson got is clearly viral because
it affect every team that comes and
they play. I mean, shoot, Syracuse gets murdered the week after they just demolished Clemson in Death Valley. I mean, it's been SMU gets upset by Wake Forest last week.
Right.
It's been something.
Maybe we do have a disease. They might be on to something there.
Yeah.
We got a sickness that we can't shake it.
LSU didn't lose immediately after they beat Clemson, but they just fired their coach. So
they did just fire their coach. So clearly it didn't go great.
Yeah, it did not go great. The only one that's kind of been immune has been Georgia Tech. So it's been interesting. Troy has lost games. They got killed by Memphis the week after they had Clemson on the ropes. Yeah. So it's one of those things where this but for Duke it seems like that bug hit them early. So maybe there's a little bit of a reverse psychology there where now that they've had their disappointing performance, they go into the bye week and they come out and they play lights out. Would not surprise me against this version of Clemson. So I really don't know what to expect Saturday because I mean a lot of it is it hinges on what is the mindset of this team, who starts at quarterback, and whether the changes that this staff has talked about making in terms of rotations and guys that need to play, who needs to get the ball more, they need to do this and this and this and this, and it's like we're not doing this well enough, and then you go into the game. And the same things we've talked about are they continue to happen. It doesn't give you a lot of optimism, but I think Clemson can win this football game. Yeah. They absolutely can win this football game. Will they? We'll talk about it.
All right, Jordan, it's time for the score prediction. It's time to make a pick on this game and figure out who we're going with. We're going with the Tigers. We're going with the Duke Blue Devils. Will Clemson drop a third game in a row in the Valley? That might be one of the craziest things I've ever said since we've started this show. But it's a real possibility. So, yeah, I've gone back and forth on this a couple times. I don't feel great about picking either team. I don't know exactly how this game's going to play out. Again, with the aggressiveness of their defense and Cade's mobility being questioned, and the inconsistent play of the offensive line with all the injuries, I don't know, man. It's kind of one of those games where I think Clemson might drop another game. I've yet to pick against Clemson this season, but I think this is going to be the game. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the Duke Blue Devils. I think they pull it out, and I think Clemson drops yet another home game. And it doesn't make me happy to say that, and I'd be really, really excited to be wrong. I'd be really excited just for Clemson to win a Power Four game at home, and look good doing it. But I just don't trust this team at this time. I don't think the bye week was some magic elixir that suddenly solved a lot of the problems that this Clemson team has. And I really don't think a lot of the problems this Clemson team have can be solved in this season. So for that reason, I'm going to go Duke, and I'll go 31-24.
I guess it's my turn. I've spent a lot of the time, talking about, the follies of this Clemson team, the flaws that this program has, and how poorly they've played for much of the season. And I've spent a lot of time talking about how much Duke is going to give this team problems. That being said, I think I'm feeling strangely optimistic about this football game on Saturday. It's funny because last game, like, I was the one that was pretty negative Nancy. I was like, I don't think they're beating SMU.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm a roll with the Tigers one more time. We're switching roles. We're switching roles today. I think Clemson wins the football game, and this is against my better judgment. This is not really based on anything that I've seen from this team at this point. But I'm betting on a little bit of regression to the mean here, in a positive regression to the mean here, in terms of, no, I don't think this Clemson team is going to play all of a sudden like we all thought they would, in preseason. But you give this team enough. You give a team with the talent that Clemson has, just the roster talent that Clemson has, enough cracks at it, they're going to win one of these games. And as much as Death Valley has not been a home field advantage this season, I think it has a chance to be a factor. Now it's going to be a noon kick, so it's not going to be. I'm not saying it's going to be, oh my God, it's going to be like nighttime, or it's not going to be what it was in the LSU game. But I do think that this bye week, I don't think it's going to, like you said, I don't think it's going to magically fix all their problems. I think Clemson is still very much going to look like a very flawed football team in this game. But I do think that they will be able to. I think Duke will also, have its issues. I think what we saw against Georgia Tech. I mean, that I don't think that's the team that's going to show up, but I do think you'll be able to force them into some mistakes. And I guess it all hinges on, whether or not you jump on this team early, because I think if they have a good script and they have a good game plan early, maybe things look a little bit different. I think that's really been one of the more frustrating things watching this team is they haven't been able to get off to a good start, and the other team has jumped on them first more often than not this season.
Right.
I think they flipped the script this Saturday, and I think they win a close football game. I don't think it's going to be very pretty, but I think I actually think they're going to find a way this week and get back to 500. I don't know if it's going to be a season-changing win and all of a sudden they're going to go on a run, but I do think this is a football game that it's do or die in terms of whether or not you're going to salvage anything out of this season. And I'm going to believe that they respond at least enough to win this football game. I don't think I laid out a very convincing argument for those of you listening. This is really mostly, I'm prefacing it now. This is kind of really just gut feeling right now. It's not really based on matchups or anything like that. Maybe you can call me fanned out, but then again, listen, I picked this team to lose, the last couple of games. So it is what it is. Well, I shouldn't say the last couple of games because I didn't pick them to lose to Boston College, but I picked them to lose against SMU. I felt like I had a pretty good read on that game, and so I don't feel like I have a good read on this game one way or another. So I'm going with my gut. I'm going to pick Clemson to win the football game. Score prediction. I'm going to say Clemson 27, Duke 24. I don't think it's going to be a super high scoring game, but I think both teams are going to have some success offensively in this game. And I think Duke finds Freudian slip. I think Clemson finds a way in this game, and they get back to 500. So this is the second straight week you and I are split. In our opinion, let's see who wins out.
We'll see. I'm gonna try to. We'll see if you pull away or I even it back up. We'll see.
Yeah.
I hope you're right. I'm just not convinced. I think this team's just got too many deep-rooted issues. And I don't think this is a great matchup because of the quarterback health, the offensive line, the aggressive nature of their defense. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope Clemson pulls it out, but I certainly wouldn't put any money on them pulling it out. So
no, I'm not betting. Oh shoot, I'm not betting this game. God no.
If you bet on Clemson, you just like losing money at this point.
Yeah, I don't shoot. I'll lay some money on Duke money line, so I can't. Maybe at least I'll make some money on being wrong on the show. Right. But let's see. You guys get your score predictions in. Those of you listening, those in the live chat, let us know what you think.